Hello everyone, welcome to Mark Reads Good. I'm your host Mark, and today I'm going to be discussing Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry, published in 1985. McMurtry won the Pulitzer Prize for this book in 1986. I had looked at this book on my shelf for months, and every time I looked at it, I was a little intimidated because this book is just shy of 900 pages. Typically, I like to read books that are anywhere between 250 to 400 pages. That way I can try to get through, 2 to 3 books a month and have some variety in what I'm reading. That wasn't the case with this book. It took me about a month and a half to get through. But once I knuckled down and started reading this book, I'm really happy I did because I can't say enough good things about this book. The story begins in a small town in Texas called Lonesome Dove, where two retired famous Texas Rangers have set up shop at a stable with a few of their buddies from their old ranging days, and they sell cattle and rent equipment to the various townspeople of Lonesome Dove. Things are a little boring and not exciting for these legendary rangers. And so when one of their friends from their old ranging days shows up and suggests that they drive a bunch of cattle up to Montana and try to start the first Montana ranch, they kind of jump on the opportunity. He sells it like, if you guys get up there first, the prairies are like immense and it's perfect for cattle. It's just someone needs to go up there and take it. They're a little concerned because there's still some tribes that the US military is fighting, but because they're all rangers, they feel like they are going to be plenty safe doing so. That's kind of the plot of the book, and that's kind of where the adventure kicks off at. I don't want to go into too much more detail for fear of spoiling anything in this book. Okay, some of my spoiler-free thoughts about this book. 1, McMurtry is a master storyteller. He's also a master at creating in-depth characters that all feel like real breathing humans that could exist in the world out there. Each and every character is unique from one another. They each have their own motivations and backstories, and they feel fully realized. There's parts of this book that are absolutely hilarious. Whenever the Hat Creek outfit are out on the range and they're driving the cattle, the way they talk smack to one another is very reminiscent of some of the scenes in Red Dead Redemption where you go back to camp and you're listening to the members of the gang kind of talk smack to each other. It's kind of like that, where it's very funny, very humorous. And it also helps that when things start to go a little sideways for them, you're really invested in each one of the characters. So there's no such thing as like a throwaway character in this book. Each character is someone that you're going to fall in love with or hate and have like really strong emotions for. But there's not any characters in this book that you'll feel just kind of meh about. They're all really, really good. If you're interested in romance, this book has it. If you're interested in coming of age stories, this book has it. If you're interested in story arcs that have to do with characters kind of reconciling some sins from their past, this book has it. It has everything you could possibly want out of a book, and that's why I would highly recommend this book to anybody who hasn't read it. Okay, now for the spoilers. So if you have read this book, stick around because I have some thoughts and I'm going to talk about some of the memorable things that occurred during the book. If you haven't read the book yet and you don't want to hear any spoilers, you should get out of here, unless of course you want to continue to hear me talk. I can't imagine that's the case, and I imagine you probably want to leave in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Why did Gus have to die? I was so sad when he died and succumbed to his injuries finally at the end of the book. Man, I was gutted. Gus for me was this character that just dragged this, some of the slow parts of the story, Gus dragged this story through for me. Every time he talked to people and how he carried himself was just deeply fascinating to me. And he was, to me, the Hat Creek outfit. I know there's other characters that are very captivating as well, but in terms of like the leader of the Hat Creek outfit, I know Call is kind of the guy that commands a lot of respect, and he's a very stoic guy and everyone looks up to him. But for me, Gus was kind of like the guy that would keep spirits up and keep everyone moving in the right direction. I really liked Gus. He was such a cool character. I wasn't the biggest fan of Call, to be honest, especially towards the end of the book when you finally like realize that Call is the father of Newt, and how Call never really talked to Newt because he looked at his relationship with Newt's mother, who was a town prostitute, as a shortcoming of his. And so he viewed Newt as like an extension of that shortcoming. There's a little bit of redeeming quality to Call at the end of the book, where he finally realizes that by not being a good father to Newt and not addressing the fact that he is Newt's father is a shortcoming in of itself. But he never really like tells Newt like, I'm your father, I'm sorry, this is why I never talked to you. He does some nice things to Newt, like he gives Newt the Hell Bitch, his giant horse that everyone has, like, you know, everybody is envious of this horse that Call rides, the Hell Bitch, crazy name. And he gives his horse to Newt at the end of the story, and I thought that was very touching. But overall, I would say Call is kind of like, he wasn't the most fascinating character for me. Augustus was the guy. I was so sad when he died. Call is cool, don't get me wrong. Like the fact that Call, after Gus dies, or right before Gus dies, he tells Call, like, hey, take my body to the orchard where me and Clara used to go and have picnics. I had some fond memories there. And this orchard is like, they're in Montana when this happens. This orchard's all the way back down towards Texas. And Call goes like, absolutely, 100% I'll do that. And so when Gus dies, Call gets on his horse, loads Gus up, his body up, and starts riding down to Texas. And it's just a testament to how deep their friendship was. And there's this quiet love that's very unique between the two of them. And I just found that whole thing fascinating. When Jake Spoon finally gets his comeuppance, I was so happy, because this guy is just a guy that shucks responsibility. He dragged poor Lori into all these situations throughout the book and like doesn't do anything to try to help save her. Thank God Gus was there to go like rescue her from like these guys doing God knows what to her. I mean, we know what they were doing, but it's just terrible. They did terrible things to poor Lori, and you know, Jake is nowhere to be found. So when Jake finally is brought to justice, I was very happy about that. Two characters I think are sleepers, and I don't know, I haven't read a lot of like Reddits or watched very many videos about this book, but I would be really curious to see what people think about Roscoe, July Johnson's deputy, and Janie. Their little segment in the book, while it lasted, about how they're kind of traveling looking for July Johnson, they were just some of my favorite characters. Like Janie, up until that point, was this female character that had some agency over herself, and I just thought she was a little badass. And Roscoe's kind of this dullard, and they made this like odd couple combination between the two of them, like this old aging deputy who is a little dim-witted, and then you have Janie, who's like a, I don't know, 12 to 13-year-old girl that's just super yeah, man, she grabbed life by the cojones, if you will. I would be so curious to see what people think. If you've read this book before and you have like, you know, memories from this book that you thought were really cool, post them in the comments. I would be curious to see like what people have to say about this book. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. It makes total sense why it has the hype that it does. It makes total sense that it won the Pulitzer Prize. I wouldn't say this is like a campy Western. It obviously has Western tropes. I get it. But really, this is a book about the human condition and these people that are trying to exist and make it during very hard times. And to that end, this is an absolute masterpiece. I would highly recommend it to anybody. Until next time, this has been Mark from Mark Reads Good. You take care.